If you see my video on the Animal Soccer World ebook, I'm sure you did your best to try and forget it. Well, now it's time to jump back into Bizarro Dingo Pictures with the ebook on Dalmatians, Puppies in Trouble. Now, from what I've heard, these edutained for kids adaptations of Dingo Pictures movies weren't actually authorized by Dingo Pictures. So, yeah, Dingo Pictures, I guess, got knocked off with these books. The knockoffs got knocked off. This is going into Galaxy Hole territory with this stuff. We just need a Galaxy Warrior of Waboo and the circle will be complete.
Being a part of the Galaxy Warriors is so stupid. Also, you're so stupid too, Bowthead.
Oh, but Waboo, I love you!
The feeling is not mutual.
Actually, the PlayStation 1 and 2 ports of Dingo Pictures movies by Phoenix and Midas, you know, the way most of us became aware of the Dingo world, apparently weren't properly licensed either. So that's pretty crazy. So, to follow the chain that led us here, we got 101 Dalmatians. Dingo rips that off with their movie. That movie gets bootlegged and slapped onto PlayStation 1 and 2 under many names, and then Edutained for Kids rips off the rip-off story, most likely due to it being ripped off. Now, you might recall that all these Edutained for Kids books were authored by the fictional Hans Christian Andersen ripoff, Hans David Andersen. I'll give it to Edutained for Kids though for at least not confusingly naming this book Dalmatians 5 or something. They just gave it the subtitle Puppies in Trouble.
The Dalmatians, Puppies in Trouble.
Based on Edutained for Kids numbering, the Dingo Dalmatians ripoff was their first ebook, and I guess they were feeling a bit more ambitious with it, as it's the only one of these books with an audiobook option. This is implemented extremely poorly though, as the only way to hear the audio is while you're on the cover, and then it pops up a little summary of what the story's about.
On a sunny Sunday morning, a happy and loving family were enjoying the beautiful outdoors.
But the second you leave that page, the audio stops, so there's no way to have it read along as you actually go through the pages of the book. The audio for this book is also available on the Never Updating Anymore Edutained for Kids website. Well, the year at the bottom automatically changes, but that's all that changes anymore. Also, for some strange reason, the narrator doesn't read the subtitle on the ebook version, but does on the audio from the website.
The Dalmatians. The Dalmatians, Puppies in Trouble.
So, of course, just like with the Dingo movies, some of the characters from Dalmatians 1/2/3 were in Animal Soccer World. But unlike Dingo, that always reused as much as they possibly could, the illustration style between these books is a bit different, so we have slightly different character designs for the reoccurring characters between these books. Crummel gets renamed to Crumb once again, and his mate to make all the mutts has been renamed from Tuffelchin to Dot. The book at least keeps her ear color consistent going from puppy to adult, unlike the original Dingo movie. The original Dingo movie. That's something I just said.
Dot, a Dalmatian with a long pair of ears.
Dot's ears seem pretty regular length for a Dalmatian. And while Dot's ears color is consistent in the actual story, on the cover, they gave her the black ears like the original Pongo ripoff model from Dingo. We see some of the mutt puppies that look a bit more like their crumb-bum dad at the beginning of the book, where the Dingo movie hid them until the end for some reason.
They loved each other and all their children with all their heart.
Crumb probably should have saved some of his heart to regulate his body functions. R.I.P. Crumb.
When they were little, they were not close at all. Dot never let Crumb join all the fun she had with her two siblings. Poor Crumb.
I guess the crow is supposed to be narrating this, like usual. But they forgot the most important part of the crow dialogue. Zzzt.
Isn't that idyllic? Zzzt.
Actually, while they sort of make it look like the crow is narrating in some pictures, the narration starts to talk about the crow in the third person later.
But all that changed one summer afternoon. Dot was playing with her siblings, Timmy and Toby. Crumb asked if he could join them, but the siblings teased him and made fun of him instead.
So, Dalmatians are just racist to other dog breeds?
They decided to let him join, only to make fun of him even more. They told him to try to catch Dot after 15 counts while covering his eyes.
AKA hide and seek, but we thought we'd word that as awkwardly as possible.
Little did he know, it was Dot's plan all along to leave him behind. Once again, Crumb was all alone. He turned around and walked home. Oh well, sighed Crumb.
Oh well, that's not what the stupid dialogue was.
They could have waited for me. I think that's very stupid.
Meanwhile, as Timmy and Toby reached the dingy of the town,
Oh right, of course, the dingy of town. I always try and stay away from the dingy, don't you, Waboo?
I always know the dingy when I see the no fence.
they bumped into the notorious Great Dane duo, Phelous and Castor.
I still have no idea why Dingo used the Greek mythology names Castor and Pollux for the evil dog food factory dogs. Pollux, by the way, was the child birthed from Zeus's swanscapades. Maybe that's how this dog was born, too.
They suddenly got scared.
That looks more crazed than scared to me.
Pollux and Castor were sly, feisty, and 10 times the size of the little Dalmatians. They ran a dog food factory, and they were badly in need of new laborers.
Ah, I can recognize that Edutainment for Kids are using some Kevin MacLeod music here. I noticed, though, that this music track is actually not used on the ebook version.
They suddenly got scared. Pollux and Castor were sly, feisty, and 10 times the size of the little Dalmatians. They suddenly got scared. Pollux and Castor were sly, feisty, and 10 times the size of the little Dalmatians. So, the shady duo took the helpless Dalmatians with them.
While some of the music tracks stay the same, there are a few bits like this where it's been changed up.
On the other side of the town, Dot ran so fast that she stopped to catch her breath.
Oh, and another bonus for how poorly the ebook works. If you leave the screen inactive, your phone will go to sleep, stopping the audio. Plus, there's no way to skip back to where you were, so you have to start it from the beginning again.
The Dalmatians. She formed a big smile on her face while picturing Crumb all alone.
As pictured, big smile.
Oh, Crumb.
I love that Dot gets off on just imagining Crumb being miserable. They're gonna have a great relationship.
Her siblings were nowhere to be found. Tears started to trickle down her cheeks as she told him that her siblings were missing.
Wow, that sounds like a whole lot of not my problem, you bitch. Ha!
But when she saw how eager Crump wanted to help her,
Yeah, they typoed Crumb's name to Crump here, and the narrator just reads the wrong name. No one cares about anything.
then Dot and Crump.
Though maybe this is Edutainment for Kids being super accurate, and this is their interpretation of Dingo Pictures messing up Crummel's name as Crummer.
It's Crummer!
She wiped her tears away and continued to look for her siblings. Then Dot and Crump.
They played their little chime there that's supposed to mean it's time to switch to the next page, but the text they're on is still on the same page. These Crumps are just falling apart here.
Dot and Crump.
That dog is just crumping it, which I guess means he's getting off by wiping his ass on an old radio?
Huh. Radio. What's going on with that radio?
Oh, Crump. Dot and Crump reached an unfamiliar junkyard.
It also apparently took them a while to realize that they were in this junkyard because that's where they were on the previous page.
Out of nowhere, a pack of dogs appeared.
Oh wow, Edutainment for Kids is going hard here by making them demon dogs.
Both Crumb and Dot were startled, but they decided to shake off their fear.
Oh man, Crumb is back? That's just getting used to Crump. The layout of these pages are so well done, you'll notice they completely cover up the page number sometimes.
Their gang was known as the Backstreet Dogs.
Yep, Backstreet Dogs are back, alright.
We're the Backstreet Dog Gang.
Boss, a gray Great Dane who loved to sleep,
Boss doesn't really look like a Great Dane, nor is he gray. Of course, he was in the Dingo movie, though.
I'm the boss. Boss.
You'll notice, though, that they put Boss was a Great Dane, not a gray Great Dane.
Freddy, a mutt.
Oh, the narrator caught that a mott wasn't a thing, so he said mutt. Crump is fine, but mott is going too far.
Tramp, a scrawny-looking schnauzer.
The narrator is on the ball with the dog breeds at least, so Tramp gets to be a schnauzer instead of a snoozer. Of course, Tramp still looks like knockoff Tramp, and Tramp from Lady and the Tramp wasn't a snoozer, he was a mott.
Vera, a slender whippet.
Shouldn't Vera be drawn in a completely different style so she looks like she doesn't belong here?
What do you think you pups are doing? Asked Boss with his big voice.
We were just trying to get some butt radio time.
Timmy and Toby were busy sticking labels on dog food cans. Oh, how tiring and exhausting they must be.
While yes, I do find these characters exhausting, I'm sure they meant how exhausted they must be. I'm glad, though, Edutainment for Kids very accurately recreated this messed up scene from Dingo. They even kept the beatings.
What's the matter?
But I'm thirsty.
It seems your last beating up wasn't enough for you, eh?
But if they stopped working, they would get some harsh beating from Phelous.
I love the beatings. They deserve it. Don't make me be the one with standards, you messed up version of me.
They wish that someone would rescue them from the notorious duo.
I could do that, but I won't. Zzzt.
Dodd was extremely sad and annoyed, and nobody else seemed to care. The gang still hadn't helped them. Even Crumb joined in on their fun.
Well, the Backstreet Dogs conducting a piss-poor search is very accurate to the movie.
It seemed that some members were not taking this seriously. The gang members teamed up, but no one wanted to pick Butcher. He was brave and strong, but nobody wanted to deal with his low intellect.
I'm glad Butcher's stupidity is being highlighted much more in the book version.
Freddy and Vera volunteered to head out first, and Butcher was furious that the two did not tag him along.
So Butcher immediately springs into action and shows he is actually the only smart one.
Oh wait, no he doesn't. He sits around while Vera and Freddy chase Charlie Cat around. And after that, Boss and Tramp do the same thing. Gotta love these heartless dogs that dick around while puppies are forced into labor and get beaten.
Exhausted from goofing around, Freddy and Vera decided to head back. So they just told everyone that Timmy and Toby weren't in that part of town.
Meanwhile, the puppies were actually dying in the building right beside them and were never found because Freddy and Vera were assholes. The end.
Dot was really distraught. So Boss tried to cheer her up by telling her that he and Tramp would continue the search. Boss wasn't really serious about helping Dot.
Boss is totally not Boss.
Meanwhile, Butcher was sniffing and walking around when he saw a huge Doberman packing sausages near a dog food factory. Feeling a bit hungry himself,
See, Butcher was the smart one the entire time because he was hungry and he went to food.
he asked the Doberman for whom were the sausages for.
I thought they said Castor and Pollux were Great Danes in the book.
They bumped into the notorious Great Dane duo. Phelous and Castor. The Doberman told Butcher his name and said that the sausages were for 2 little Dalmatians.
So now they are Dobermans, which is what they seem to be in Dingo. Of course, it's really hard to figure out what anything in Dingo Pictures is really supposed to be when Dingo Pictures apparently thought a gopher was a dingo.
It is Dingo!
I'm sure Aldi was really upset that Edutainment for Kids didn't keep the odd brand placement.
He headed back to the junkyard without even realizing that the 2 Dalmatians could be Dot's missing siblings. Oh, Butcher.
The book is actually making Butcher dumber than the movie because there he at least thought something of the 2 Dalmatian slaves being mentioned to him.
Like the 2 little Dalmatians, he will beat their paw. Now stop bothering me.
The others work for him, not bad.
Really, Butcher was actually the smartest one.
Dot, needing even the smallest glimmer of hope, asked Butcher about his search. Some of Gang were still surprised that all this information came from Butcher.
Some of Gang wonder why English's so good.
Oh, if only Butcher realized these sooner.
Good thing the narrator didn't read, if only Butcher realized these sooners, 'cause then it wouldn't have made sense.
And the gang seemed suddenly determined to rescue Timmy and Toby that not even cats and rubbish bins were able to distract them. Dot felt so grateful for all Crumb and the gang's efforts.
They still haven't actually done anything, Dot.
Right after this, though, Boss chased Charlie again. Timmy and Toby's skeletons were found a year later.
Bloom and Crumb pretended that they wanted to buy a lot of sausages. They were faced by Phelous, who was excited to know that the traveling businessmen were interested with their sausages.
Shouldn't it be business dogs?
Back at the junkyard, the gang members were all busy playing around.
Dot was grateful for them being useless sacks of shit.
Sometimes the text seems to be a page ahead of where the illustrations are at.
So Boss decided to wait until morning to figure out their next move. So she sneaked out while everybody was sleeping. "Don't go," said a mysterious voice.
Well, that's a new creepy take on the crow.
She always saw that crow following her around, but paid no attention to it.
Sure, it was kind of weird to have a creep following you around, possibly narrating what you're doing, but who cares?
The moon was bright when Dot and the crow arrived at the factory. The alarm went off and she was caught in a trap. She desperately looked for the crow, but it already flew away from the factory. Poor Dot. Even the crow abandoned her.
Yeah, look how far it got.
Finally, it was an unfortunate circumstance, but at least Dot was reunited with her siblings.
I'm glad we can actually see the beating marks on the puppies in the book version. Edutainment for Kids is striving to be Traumutainment for Kids.
Crumb rose and looked for Dot, but was puzzled because she was nowhere to be found.
Apparently Dot made a dummy of herself, but this goes uncommented on in the text. This leads to Butcher Kool-Aid manning out of the junkyard instead of using the exit, 'cause he's so smart.
What a valiant friend. But poor Butcher never saw it coming and he was caught in the trap too.
That's such a great arc with Butcher. He may look dumb, but he actually is dumb.
The gang knew that they could no longer afford to wait around.
Yeah, they definitely could afford to wait around before. It's not like anything horrible was happening.
Out of nowhere, the majestic crow appeared. Who would have thought that the crow knew the code?
The crow could have done that days ago and stopped the puppy torture, but oh well, what a hero.
There was nothing between the gang and the 2 evil dogs, and the 2 Dobermans felt fear.
We are completely helpless without a net dropping from the ceiling.
Edutainment for Kids opts for a more violent ending here, as the crow just turned the trap on Castor and Phelous in the movie, but here they get a damn good beating.
Just wait till I catch you in the dark corner. You'll get the damn good beating.
And gave them a beating that they deserved and would never forget. Dot was overjoyed as she expressed her gratitude to the crow and the gang, most especially She was thankful for Crumb. Dot valued her kindness and generosity.
I think that was supposed to be Dot valued his kindness and generosity, but instead it just sounds like she's on an ego trip.
Dot, Timmy, and Toby apologized to Crumb for everything. They promised him that from then on, they would never tease or pick on him anymore. They would always play with him and be with him, no matter what.
Turns out that they do like each other. And it wasn't all out of obligation.
Crumb blushed, stuttered, and giggled, while the gang and the crow had a good laugh.
When you hear the chime like this, you'll know that it's not always time to turn the page because we are inept.
Years passed, and Dot and Crumb grew up and had their own cute little puppies together.
Whoa! Who saw it coming?
The crow and butcher stayed with them.
Bumming off them for the rest of their lives.
The end.
Wow, that was amazingly pointless. I do wonder who the poor guy who had to read the one and only audiobook by Edutainment for Kids was, but more than likely...
We will never know.
And now Waboo and bootleg Waboo called Dingo are best of friends.
I am going to kill you, bootleg Waboo!
Close enough. Can't wait for Edutainment for Kids' Nutty Professor 2, The Crumps.